At this time, we have a power talk by Mr. Hollis Meminger. Mr. Meminger is a Hollywood film cinematographer, founder of Bridgebuilder Cinematic Arts, with numerous film and television credits such as The Blacklist on NBC, Narcos on Netflix, and Younger and TV Land. He is also a passionate documentarian focusing on projects which feature the marginalized community. We will be seeing a short snippet of his documentary, Boston Youth COVID-19 and its effects on the marginalized communities.
Invictus by Ernest Henley.
Out of the night that covers me,
black as the pit from pole to pole,
I thank whatever God may be
for my unconquerable soul.
In the fell clutch of circumstance,
I have not winced nor cried aloud.
under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed.
Beyond this place of wrath and tears
Looms but the horror of the shade.
and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid.
It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll.
I am the master of my fate.
I am the captain of my soul.
Yes, so I believe everyone has seen the video, which is great. Yeah, so just sort of to kind of touch on that, after I sort of introduce myself again. My name is Hollis Meminger. I'm a filmmaker. I've been in film and television for 23 years. Started out at a rental house called Panavision that became what I would consider my university. I did not go to film school, which I'm not sure if that's a great thing or a good thing or a thing at all. I know that there's people out here that have. It just was not my journey. This sort of 23-year journey for me started at a time where things were actually really, really tough in my life, and I used the opportunity to move to New York City and tell stories as a way to kind of get out some of the things that were affecting me, which I realized were also affecting my community. And with that, I started working, on I think my first project was the Up in Smoke tour with Dre and Snoop. This is for all the older people out there who know who they are. And for the young people, Dre's Beats headphones. I mean, that's the same person. He was, a musician. I think he's a musician, even though he, creates art through music and beats, so to speak, and produces music. But, it was a really interesting sort of twist and turn in my life because it gave me the opportunity to be around other creative people who saw things differently than the rest of the world. And I think when you look at creativity at its finest, you'll find it in all different aspects of the world. You find it in business. As much as people see business and creativity and art to be different, I see them to be fairly the same thing. It's just how you choose to use that art and how you choose to treat people with it. So one of the things that in 2000 and sort of 8 maybe, I started thinking about creating a project or a program that would talk about the effects of filmmaking on the community, but I really didn't know how to do it. I didn't know where to do it. And I started seeing each year that I was in the business that I was the only person of color behind the camera that wasn't craft service or catering or security or parking. And one day, one of the parking guys said something to me that was really interesting. And he said, he was a much older guy at the time. I think I was in my late 20s and he was probably in his 40s. And he said, coming to work every day and seeing you push around these carts and this camera equipment really gives me life because it's something that I always thought I wanted to do. And now that I'm in my 40s, I don't think it's something I would ever do. But seeing you makes me proud. And I didn't really think about it until I realized that we don't see ourselves in these positions enough. And because we don't see ourselves in these positions, we don't think that these are possibilities for our lives. We also don't think that they're possibilities for other people, especially coming from low-income areas. We don't see film is really a glamorous thing, or it can be unless you're outside for 16 hours in the snow and the rain as a technician. But people see the finished project and the finished product and they're excited about it. But they don't always know why they're excited. And part of that is seeing the power of 200 plus voices on a TV show creating art for the world. And some of it is good art, some of it is what it is. I think it's subjective on what you like. But having the opportunity to create an organization like Bridgebuilder, again, it's Bridgebuilder Cinematic Arts. And it was kind of birthed out of necessity. We think of all of these great things that get birthed out of necessity and in someone's basement or someone's mind. Bridgebuilder was birthed out of the necessity for me as a Black filmmaker to create something else for other Black filmmakers first. Whether it be women or Black youth and people of color, that was my drive because I didn't see people that looked like us making these projects and creating change. So I started Bridgebuilder and officially in 2016 in the Bronx at a KIPP school, KIPP NYC on East 144th in Grand Concourse. And what happened a few years later is I started to realize that the barrier was not just the students, it was also the parents, because the parents saw it as this unreachable like peak. Like, how is it possible for my kid to get into a business that we don't see ourselves unless it's, you know, actors? And that also felt like a very far-reaching place for a high school student to go. So then I created another program in Southeast Baltimore and started to see the same pattern. You know, low-income neighborhoods, resources are very low. And with that, doing art is not really, you know, something that people are given, you know, that's quote unquote a luxury, you know, but there's art in everything. And when you choose to teach students this, they start to understand it, that art is everywhere. It's inside them, a story is inside them. They each have stories to tell, and we just need to work at bringing those stories out. So that kind of brought me to this year's program, or 2020, you know, the sort of infamous year of COVID. And what I was able to do with two other organizations is sort of switch platforms and not be in person and actually create something that was actually online. So we created our first online program, which was in Boston, primarily in sections of Boston that were underserved. And one of the hurdles was connectivity. You know, you have COVID kind of hit the world, and you send everyone home, and you assume that everyone has internet access or accessibility to the product. You know, one person said to me, every student should have a phone. So I don't know why they can't do their work on their phone. And you realize, like, try doing a paper or a business proposal on a phone, you know, with limited access. You know, that's not setting these students up for success. So I reached out to my students in Baltimore to find out what they needed and what issues they faced. And the first thing they said was, we don't have internet and we don't have computers. So I switched to, instead of worrying about the program, it was more about, how do I get my kids online? And I teamed up with United Way of Central Maryland, and we were able to secure 740 computers for all the students at that high school, which then allowed me to bring my students online. And then the other hurdle of what do we do and how do we do this in an online platform? And we did some research, found a platform called WeVideo, which is an online sort of cloud-based program. And we were able to teach these students how to do the projects that you watched. And that's just two of them. They were able to use their cell phones. We were able to get them online, and they were able to write, produce, edit, score, and put out these projects. And it became a real eye-opener for the city of Baltimore, the city of Boston, to kind of see and understand that how much creativity came out of creating this project, but also all the projects that they were able to produce. And in the end, they produced 29 videos in total. They were able to stream them over Zoom in August 20th this past year, and broadcast them for almost 400 people. And two of my students entered a cell phone film festival. One was able to win the People's Choice Award, and then he submitted to the Golden Key Award. He was able to win this year, which put him in the likes of Warhol and all the other sort of great creators of art. And he'll now be able to enter into a national platform. And again, these are kids that never made a film before. So to see 29 videos come from, a place where people counted them out due to COVID, they counted them out in school. They said that these kids would never graduate. We have 100% graduation rate and probably about a 95% college admission rate, and the other 5% have chosen to get right into the business. So that is, for me, it's that to me is success. It's not just the metrics, of seeing how many students you have versus how many graduate. It's the 10:30 at night phone calls you get from a student that says his life or her life has been changed due to a 5-week program that they never knew existed before. So I'm super grateful for this journey, and there's still so much more to do. There's a long way to go, and millions of more people to reach, and more kids to kind of touch and prove that this program, as well as this journey, is a story in and of itself. But it gives people the power to tell their own stories, not necessarily to just listen to mine, because again, it's one of millions of what I would consider to be progress stories, not necessarily success stories. It's more progress, and there's success in there. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being a part of this.
Hi, Hollis.
Hey.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful talk and initiative. Our MC is now back on stage. She was having a little technical difficulties, and such an amazing, empowering story about how you've journeyed through. Your journey was not simple. It was one steeped in persistence. So thank you so much for that, and I will leave it to Negilla to have the program moving. And thanks again, Hollis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hollis, for this very inspiring power talk. Your journey, you had a very, very long journey. And I do hope that what you set out to do when you first started out, that you continue to do it, and individuals would continue to support you as you continue what you started off to do. Thank you so much for this. At this time, I'd like to welcome on stage the founder of Aspire Artemis Foundation for closing remarks, Ms. Hermina Johnny.
Everyone, for joining us today. We've had a very eventful day, packed with training sessions. You've had the opportunity to listen to powerful panel discussion on the power and impact of storytelling, of how far a story can take you, how it can bridge divides and connect us despite our backgrounds. No matter where we come from or who we are, our stories, they bring us together. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your days to take part in the training sessions, as well as listen to the music and the dance performance that took place earlier today. Now we have something more fun for you in the program as well. We have part of the program that is designed to be more interactive. We had a virtual choir come in, and I'll have the MC tell you a bit more about that. But thank you so much for joining us today. You were here to make commitments, and I hope that from all of the discussions that you had today with the people that you were able to meet both yesterday and today, that you are able to formulate connections that will leave this platform and allow you to take action in your own communities, to continue to spread stories, and to also give a platform to those unheard voices that continue to not make it to mass media outlets. We did hear from a lot of people today that sometimes technology, it can be an enabler, but it can also prove as a barrier to success if everyone doesn't have access to that technology. We heard that some people may have access to computers but may not have a mobile phone, or that people may share devices amongst family members. So when we talk about technology, let's think about the other half of the population who have trouble in accessibility, in infrastructure, decision makers that were here today. Think about those things. Take back those discussions that you had amongst each other during these 2 days and the lessons learned, and make commitments to continue to train, upskill, and fund and empower the next generation of leaders from the African diaspora globally. This event was focused on the International Decade for People of African Descent, because we know that these communities face challenges that are elevated in times of national emergency. So we do have to take into mind the communities that are marginalized and unheard, and try to bring them to the table so that they are all part of the discussion and that no one is left behind. Let's train, let's reskill, let's upskill. Thank you so much again, and I will welcome back the Master of Ceremony to introduce the closing performance for the evening.
Thank you so much, Hermina, for your closing remarks. An event of this magnitude and securing speakers of such high caliber would require tremendous amount of effort. Under your leadership, the Aspire Artemis Foundation has given all of us here today knowledge, skills, and motivation to bring forth change. What a way to celebrate International Women's Day. As parents, as guardians, as mentors and teachers, we need to teach our girls that they belong and that when they are faced with obstacles, they can overcome them because they have the fortitude within them to do so, and other women to take inspiration from. Thank you to the women before us who made everything possible for the women today. We have so much work left to do, but as well, thank you for the example set by our mothers, our mentors, the women who represented here today. We are on a right path, and never be afraid to speak your truth. A challenge world is an alert world, and from challenges come change. So let us all choose to challenge. Let's also take time to enjoy ourselves. As we bring today's events to a close, we look towards the artists and performers lined up to entertain us after today's uplifting journey. A pre-recorded virtual choir performance of John Legend and Commons Glory, arranged by the Vista Orchestra Nigeria, with contributing singers from around the world. There are performers from Canada, Belgium, Nigeria, St. Kitts, and the United States. Many thanks for joining us for this action-packed event. We hope you all have something to take back to your communities and start your own storytelling movements.